Hi, and welcome to Midday Marketing with Lynn. And I am actually doing this from the studio because I'm the only person in the studio. So if I press the wrong button, I'm going to apologise in advance, Peter. But there's a lot of buttons here that I'm just desperate to press. But Peter's actually joining me from Melbourne, Mr. Peter Gowers. Just for a bit of a disclaimer, Peter actually does a podcast with my eldest brother, and he's actually interviewed my other brother. So it's the trifecta, Peter.
Yeah, in the issue of fairness, I thought we should do a podcast with all of the Logan Nathan siblings at some point.
Yeah, I don't. That's just like a bad episode of Family Feud, as far as I'm concerned. All right, Peter. Can you just, for my listeners, could you just give them a little bit of a description or intro about what you do and who you are and why I would be having you on this show?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the general manager of a company called OP Danis Digital Marketing. As the name suggests, it's a digital marketing agency. We work with everyone from small businesses to medium-sized, not so much in the sort of Fortune 500 sphere, but mainly small and medium-sized. And we help them with everything from building a website to getting found online.
Okay. So Peter and I are going to be talking about exactly that, building your website. So for those of you who did listen to my show last week, and I'm sure Peter did tune in last week because, that'd be cruel if he hadn't. I spoke to Gareth Lane about what to do before you actually get online. So the advice that Gareth and I both gave was, getting out that piece of paper, A4, A3, whatever it works, and actually brainstorming who are your customers, where do they live, what do they look like, what's the sort of marketing messages that are going to attract those people before you even look at getting online. So, and we also obviously spoke about Google Analytics and Google AdWords and some of those terminologies that, bantered around a lot when it comes to digital marketing. So this is almost like a part 2, but I've just chosen somebody else to come on and interview. So Peter and I are actually going to be discussing your actual website, so we're now at that point where we've gone, okay, my business name is acme.com.au. What do I do next? So, do I go to Net Registry? Do I talk us through, where do we start?
Yeah, so if you've got to the point where you have decided what your business is, and let's just let's make up an example and say it's.
Can you write my acme.com.au business
No,
name?
I did. I'm just trying to figure out what Acme does. Do you know what they do, Lynn?
Oh, well, look, it's just a small business. It's it's either a small retailer or it's somebody who, wasn't online very much, but now obviously because of current circumstances are getting online as quickly as they can. I'd like them to actually sell a physical product rather than a tangible product. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So that's a good example. So they're a local business. They weren't online, but they need to get online quickly, particularly because of the current circumstances. So the first thing you need is a domain name. And the domain name is, as you described, acme.com.au, or there's a million different endings to how you can have your website. But the best ones for Australia are either .com.au or .net.au. It doesn't affect how the website can get ranked, but .com.au and .net.au are the best known for Australia. So first things first, you can do yourself a real favor by making your domain name what you do and where you are. So an example of that might be if Acme sells taps and they're in, give me somewhere in WA.
Perth.
They're in Perth?
They're in Perth. So it'd be Acme Tapware Perth.
Something like that, yeah. So any domain name that has what they do and where they're located in it will certainly help from the perspective of being able to get found.
Well, I guess realistically, you wouldn't need Acme then. You just want to be Tapware Perth. But I'm going to assume that I'm going to assume that domain name has been taken. So
I believe the Roadrunner got that name sometime ago. So once you've got your domain name, then you're going to need hosting. And hosting is essentially where your website sits. so that the world can find it when they type in the domain. And the domain registrar, which is the place where you register your name, and your hosting can be the same place, but they don't have to be the same place.
Okay. So is there any
So,
places that you'd recommend registering your domain name in?
well, I suppose in Australia, the best names, you mentioned Net Registry,
Yeah.
Crazy Domains, GoDaddy. They're probably the best known ones to Australia, although they're not Australian. Net Registry is in originally, but they're now owned offshore.
Yeah.
But because the domain registrar is part of a global network of registrars, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
There's Namecheap as well, is also quite a good one. As the name suggests, they try and keep the prices down as much as possible. And there are different registrars charge different amounts for domain names, believe it or not.
Okay.
So
Well, I didn't actually realize that. I assumed it was relatively all the same price, but
no, so do your research, because some are more than others.
okay. So I've gone into GoDaddy. I bought
Yep,
tapwordperth.com.au.
yep.
And now what do I do?
So now you need to decide which type of platform that you will want to build your website on. So what I mean by platform is most people, I think, have heard of WordPress.
Yeah.
Now, WordPress powers 30% of the internet's websites. So
Seriously,
they're
worldwide, 30% of people are using
worldwide,
WordPress.
30%. Yep. Yep. Now,
Wow.
WordPress is split into two halves. There's WordPress.org and
Yeah.
there's WordPress.com. Now, WordPress.org uses the original version of WordPress, if you want to call it that, which is an open source product, which means anybody can use it. There's no cost to use it. Every website hosting company offers some sort of a WordPress install service, and you literally just install it on top of your domain name, and then you're ready to build the site. WordPress.com is a privately owned company, and it uses the same open source software, but it has restrictions around what you can and can't do, and hosting is included with a WordPress.com website. But
Okay, so that was a lot of information.
yeah,
So, again, so let's just break it down.
yeah,
I'm no clue what I'm doing. I've just got my domain. Like, yes, I mean, obviously there's WordPress, there's Wix, there's Squarespace. Like, there's obviously quite a few content management systems out there. Can we just have a quick chat about the different types of CMSs, and then we'll come back to this wordpress.com.org because that confused the bejesus out of me. So,
yeah.
all right, so let's just talk about Wix. So Wix is another CMS that people can use.
Basically, when the whole concept of websites became a thing back in the day, you really needed to understand code. So, I think people understand or remember back in the day with DOS and then Windows.
Yeah,
It's somewhat similar with WordPress and the internet. You're building a site that you can see, but really it's a whole lot of code running in the background that's telling it what to do. Come full circle or to the modern era, with things like Wix and Squarespace and Weebly and Duda and all the other online platforms, they're all cloud-based,
yeah,
so you don't need to download anything to your computer, and they all use a version of what is known as a WYSIWYG editor.
yeah. What you see is what you get.
Right, and drag and drop. So
Yeah,
if you want to move the box here, you move the box there. If you want to make it bigger, you expand it. If you want to put
yeah,
some words in, and that's the reason why it's become a lot more accessible to everybody, is because you could get onto Weebly this afternoon or Wix, and conceivably you could have a website up within an hour or two, and it
yeah.
would look quite fine, because they will give you the template. You just work within the template.
Okay, so in that scenario, is there any template that you'd recommend for a Wix or a Weebly?
Specifically, usually industry related.
Okay,
So if you go to Wix and you say, all right, well, I want a website, and I'm prepared to pay for the hosting, and I've got a plumbing business, then they'll have a plumbing template that you can use, and you just drop your logo in, your address and the specifics towards your business and what services you offer, and you can have a website up and running quite quickly. You can do it from scratch as well, but it's much easier just to use a template.
Okay, now that sounds very easy, and I
Mhm.
feel like there's some cons with using this. What's some of the cons? I mean, turning on a website in an hour and a half is almost a dream come true for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a good question. I've tried pretty much all of them,
Yeah.
and WYSIWYG is great in theory. Um, in practice, every page builder has its own idiosyncrasies, and there's usually a learning curve. So most men come from the school of don't backchat me, I know boats, and I'm just going to get in there and do it. And my advice is that you really need to go through the tutorials with each website builder, because as easy as it looks to look at, when you actually get into the meat and potatoes, as you say, it's not always that easy. I would say that of all the sort of ones that people know and are easily accessible, I find Weebly the easiest to use if you've never built a website before.
Yeah.
And I find that to be true today, and I find that to be true when I first started playing around with websites. I just found there's quite easy to learn. You can make a mistake and you can undo it, which is often the catch. And yeah, they're pretty straightforward to use.
So we're talking sort of just a basic website. Can it cope with an e-commerce platform with 10, 20, 30, 50 images, products that need to be sold, and then obviously that needs to go into a WooCommerce or something along those lines, some sort of platform like that?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So all of the cloud-based builders like Squarespace and Wix and Weebly, they all come with their own e-commerce add-ons. So
Yeah.
it's actually really easy to add the e-commerce part of their sites. WordPress is more reliant on third parties such as WooCommerce. So yeah, in that case, if you had a small business, you wanted to get online today, and you don't have any prospects that in the future you're suddenly going to want to become a full-blown e-commerce site, then all of those page builders would be sufficient, for a business with 20, 30, maybe up to 50 products.
Okay. So this could be a good first step, I guess, for people, especially currently
Absolutely.
right now, like just download a Weebly, find the theme that suits your business the best, find some imagery, um, you know, get some copy from somewhere, from one of your brochures that you've done somewhere, or,
Mm,
rehash copy from somewhere else that you've seen, obviously
yeah.
taking into consider plagiarism, but, and then you can pretty well get that up pretty. How expensive is hosting for a site, something like that?
Oh, look, uh, uh, I haven't looked into it for a little while, but probably $20 a month. You'd
Yeah.
have a hosted site. If you wanted to add e-commerce, that'd be slightly more expensive than that. But you're not talking hundreds or anything like that for a very basic, 3 to 5 page website with a little shopping cart.
Yeah. Now, this is gonna be a hard question, but is there any site that works better from an SEO perspective?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because, and I'm glad you bring that up, because it's a common conversation that I have virtually every day. People want a website. They understand that, but they don't understand the correlation between building a website and why they can't appear on page one, position number one the next day. And SEO is a totally different
Yeah.
entity. All of those platforms, the paid versions, offer SEO optimization as part of the build process. Now, what that means is there's two parts to SEO. There's on page and there's off page. On page is obviously what people can see, and it's using words and phrases and expressions that will best attract Google to think that when someone searches for taps in Perth, that your website's a good one. The off
Yep, I'm
page is
looking
what.
for black tap. I'm looking for black tapware in Perth. I'm looking for chrome tapware. So when it's specific, and then your website actually has that question and answers that question on your website, that's what's gonna help you ranking for that particular search. And people are getting that specific about searching now. This isn't like it was a few years ago. People are being really, really specific now when they're typing things into Google.
Absolutely true. The other thing they do with search, which is you will notice this when you go to search for something yourself. Um, Percentage wise, I can't tell you exactly where it sits, but it's up like in the top 5 of most searches. They use the term near me at the end of their search.
Yeah,
And it makes sense because Google is a local engine and will help you to find a pizza shop near you or a tap shop near you or a hardware store near you.
yeah,
Um, the other element with the SEO is the off page,
yeah,
and that's what you do in the back end of your website that also attracts Google to you. It's sort of like sending out little messages to Google that you're there and that these are the sorts of things that you want to show up for. In addition to all of that, once you've built a site, obviously through Google Search Console, which essentially is plugged into the back of your site, you can continue to update that with your updates on your website so that Google knows to look for it as well.
yeah. Look, and last week when we spoke to Gareth, we did have a discussion about SEO, and we also did have a discussion about Google My Business and how important it is for
Oh
businesses
yeah,
to register for that. And
yeah.
these are the sorts of things that you can do. And I don't want to rehash what we've already spoken about with Gareth, but I am going to come back because you didn't actually answer the question, Peter.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, because the question was out of Wix, Weebly,
Oh,
Squarespace,
yeah.
WordPress, which one is better from an SEO perspective?
Oh, okay, yeah, true. I technically I didn't answer that. Do you know why?
Because you don't know the answer? Or because there isn't actually
Well,
any difference really whatsoever?
yeah, it's not that I don't know the answer. It's just that there isn't a definitive answer.
I didn't think there was gonna be, and I was
Yeah,
being a bit
yeah.
rude there. Sorry, Peter.
No, that's
That
okay. I
no.
took it in the tone in which you meant it, and that was
Yeah.
in the spirit of jest.
Yes.
Um, but no, there really isn't a true answer to that, because they've all got their benefits. It would
Yeah.
depend on which plan you went on, and actually, to be fair to them, it would depend on how much you feed them as well.
Yeah.
Because if I put in 50 keywords and someone else only put in 5, then chances are my website's going to show up.
Yeah, and it won't matter whether it's Weekly or WordPress
Exactly.
from that
Yeah.
perspective at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, look, at the end of the day, which website you decide to go, whether it's WordPress or Wix or Weebly, I mean, we are gonna just kinda leave that up to you and your own sort of research. I mean, everybody's gonna have their 2 cents worth about which one you should do. But if you are green when it comes to this and starting with a Weebly and then seeing how you go, and there's nothing to stop you then 3 months, 6 months down the track updating your website to a beefier website if you think WordPress is going to be better for you in the long run, right?
Yeah, and the thing that I would say is that with every one of those that you mentioned, apart from maybe Squarespace, but I have to check that, they all come with a free option. So I'd be signing up to the free version and play around with it, and you'll quickly get a feel for whether it's intuitive enough for you, whether you can understand it, how thorough the tutorials are. And then if once you find a platform that you like and you're comfortable with, then you can upgrade to the paid version. You can plug in your domain name and off you go.
All right. That sounds like great advice. So now we're at the point we've chosen our content management system. Doesn't really matter which one it is because every single one of them is going to have a homepage.
Hmm.
Now, we've both seen recently there's been a bit of a move from having like multiple pages on a website to having almost like a stream of one of a page.
Mm.
Um, obviously with the volume of people that are now searching online on their phone more than over desktop or tablet. I'm assuming that's why that's happened, right? That's just
Yeah, it's definitely part of the reason. I think that yeah, because of time management.
yeah,
Um, the fact is that when people go searching online, they want to get to the answer as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So the one-page website has created an environment where that's become easier,
Yep.
but it has its limitations as well.
Yep. So going back to my Acme example, so
Mhm.
we are selling, say, 15 products. How would
Yeah.
that work on a one-page website?
Well, so with those sites, depending on the builder,
Yeah.
you would still have what would look like your traditional clickable tabs at the top of the page.
Yep.
And when you click on those tabs, it would then take you to that section of the page. So
Okay.
whether it was about us, contact us, or whatever, it would just scroll you down to that section.
Yep.
So you could either add a separate page as a cart, or you could add a cart section to the bottom of that page. Just depends on the builder that you're using.
Yep. Okay. But obviously, with some of those products, and we've seen with those bigger online stores, they do actually have a much more sophisticated e-commerce platform for that sort of thing.
Yeah, they do. And I suppose if you've never built a website before, then some of this might sound like a foreign language, but I'll try and explain it from this point of view. The e-commerce part to the site is almost like a separate room. So
Okay.
the website itself is the website inside the house, and then the shopping cart or the e-commerce part is like a separate part of that house.
Yeah.
So it makes the site bigger. There's a lot more sort of that occurs in the background that needs to happen. So it's not as simple as I'm just building another page and chucking on some items. You can do that, but if you want to put a proper store, then it's like it's like putting an addition to your house.
Yeah. So it's putting the second story in is pretty well what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like, you've got to
yeah,
make sure that you've got the connection up properly and everything can go between the first floor to the second floor and vice versa easily.
yeah. And
Um, yeah.
if you look at hosting hosting, you can get really cheap hosting that assumes that you have really low amounts of people going to your website. But you can't allow for that with an e-commerce store because, it's automatically expected that you're going to have a lot more traffic than you would to just a brochure style site.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what's some of the things that people can actually have on their homepage or the top of their website if they are having a one page or website? What's some of the things that they need to have on there? Because that's prime real estate.
That is prime real estate. That first bit that opens, that's going to make or break you.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I used to work for a leading print directory
Okay.
who are known by their color. And as a result of that, we got to spend a lot of time with the likes of Google and the organizations that sort of power a lot of, the internet when it comes to paid advertising and e-commerce, etc. At that time, which now would be about 3 years ago, Google used to say, you have 2 seconds or 2 clicks to gain someone's attention.
Yeah.
So that prime real estate, that's important because people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And if they go to a website, usually they're only going for a couple of reasons. One is they want to buy something, or the other is they want to research something that they're likely to want to buy in the future. So things like calls to action are really important. If you've got your links at the top of the page, if you've got a multi-page site, your links to the other pages are important.
Yeah.
And obviously this is going to sound ridiculous, but the name of the business is also important as well, because as we said before, if somebody's found you through a search, they may not know your business name at that stage. You might just be the first in the search results or the second in the search results that they've clicked on. So those things that need to stand out immediately are important. And the other thing is page speed, because people don't like to hang around waiting for a page to open anymore. So from the time they click on your link, They want to very, very quickly see your page, and then they want to know what you do,
Yep.
what they can get to, and in a lot of cases, can I just call them? So a call to
Okay.
action would be a click to call, a click for social media, or some way of contacting you very quickly.
Yeah, look, definitely a phone number, especially because you've got to remember a lot of people are on their phone when they're searching for you. So
Yep.
having one button where they're not having to, and they can
Yes.
connect to you directly is imperative.
Yep.
Now, you've actually stolen my thunder a little bit, Peter, because I actually had written a question for
Sorry.
later down the interview. It's all right. It's okay. What some of the hints and tips that you would provide to make sure people don't, because I'm having this problem with one of my clients' websites right now. Their download speed to get to their homepage, whether it's on my desktop or on my phone, is incredibly slow. So
Mm.
what's some of the things that I can do to reduce that?
So if it's a WordPress site, there,
Yeah.
there are plugins that you can buy, and there are free versions
Yep.
that you can simply upload to the site, and their job is to run around that site and fix everything they need to make that site load quicker.
Okay. And the name of this plugin is?
Well, there's many of them.
Okay.
I'll get you one which you can stick up on your social media or wherever you're going to put this podcast,
Okay.
because the ones I have are paid versions. So there's no point telling you
Okay.
that. I'll get you some free ones that you can.
Yeah.
To just again start with some free ones. If they make a difference, use those. If not, then look at paid options.
Okay. All right. But there must be some other things that people can do in
Of
terms of
course.
design and yeah.
Yep. So the big one's images.
Yeah.
They need to look at, see what often happens is, said business owner goes out for the weekend, they do a new job somewhere, they install the job, they take some great photos of it, they upload the photos and they stick them straight on the website. And those photos could be quite high resolution, and therefore they're going to really drag the site speed down. So
Yeah.
within a lot of page builders, they will give you the recommended pixels for it.
Yeah.
So use the recommendations. That's the first thing. And there's heaps of sites online for free image resizes and places like that.
And a lot of them actually do have the tools in there to actually reduce the image down to the size that you need it within the actual CMS itself. So then you're uploading it.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's not difficult. It's just sometimes it's actually better to do it on a desktop rather than trying to upload it from your phone.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And the other thing too, Lynn, is video, because everyone recognizes that video is really important in this day and age. But you're probably better off to embed a video rather than directly upload it. So what that means is, upload it to YouTube, get the YouTube link, and then just use the link in the back end of your website rather than sort of burdening your website with all of that video content.
All right, but at the end of a YouTube video, and then they'll do like that little cross section of other videos you might be interested in. That's not related to your product whatsoever. Is there any way to bypass that, or is that's just YouTube and you just got to suck it up?
Yeah, it's not on YouTube, but there's other video hosting platforms that you could use that would do that.
Yeah.
Would just have it, or the other way you can do it, depending on the length of the video, and then you've got to be careful with this, but is you can set that. You can set the video to run in a loop. So it'll just keep playing, and therefore it'll never get to the suggested video square at the end of when it stops playing.
Yeah. Well, because you're trying to keep them on your site for as much
I
as
agree. I agree. And there'd be nothing worse than if one of your competitors was advertising at that time and theirs popped up as a suggested video to watch.
All right. So we're going to go back again to I just want to make sure that we've got everything that somebody needs on their homepage. So we've already gone company name, where they are, phone number that's clickable, or now, and obviously a call to action. Now, where do you suggest people put things like social media links and also links to like join up to get e-newsletters? Because obviously email's still worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, it definitely is. And one of the things that I didn't say is that you can also put a link to email
Yeah.
as one of those call to actions as well. That's there's nothing wrong with that. I know several of my sites. It amazes me at times, but I probably still get more inquiry through email on a couple of my sites than I do, through the phone or through social media. Um, so we talk about prime real estate, and really with a website, the prime real estate is the top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
So whatever you can fit there, you can fit there. Now, not every theme is going to lend itself to that. So that's why we'll often see social media links at the bottom or to the side. But
Yeah.
the more things you can get in that top right-hand corner that don't confuse people, the better. With email sign-ups, I generally recommend the bottom right-hand side of the page, only
Okay.
because email sign-ups they're like a last measure, not a first measure. So usually if someone's come to your site, like I said before, they want to buy or they're doing some research for a future purchase. So if it's questions they're going to have, they're going to want to call, maybe message you through social media, or maybe send you an email.
Yeah.
Signing up to a mailing list is probably at the bottom of those priorities, but it's likely to happen if they want to keep in touch with that business.
So what's your viewpoint on pop-ups?
Oh, so glad you asked. I hate them with a passion,
Okay.
but I understand their need and their presence. What I can't stand is a pop-up that pops up because it was predetermined to pop up no matter what I was doing on that page.
Yeah.
What I don't mind is a pop-up that pops up because you do something that causes it to do that. And the most common thing is you're about to leave the page.
Yeah.
So a pop-up to try and retain you, I think, makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, a pop-up for call to action like a phone, no problems. I think that's great. And in fact, if you can get, and there's plenty around, but WordPress probably is the best known for having these plugins, but a click to call that follows the person around the site is really effective.
Okay. So like one of my sites, they've got an instant messenger like through Facebook
Yep.
Messenger straight, which actually works really well because everybody's on Facebook Messenger. It's really not a problem. Um, but I have been using for some of my clients a pop-up because of obviously the current situation as a way to update the website every single day and just remind people that the store is open or that this is going on or that this is so, because obviously people are not sure which stores are open, which businesses are currently running. And I've actually found that quite an effective way to kind of make people aware that the business is still operating.
So Lynn, you've just hit the I before E except after C. And that
My
is
mum will be very impressed with that, Peter.
and that is if you've got an actual message to relay,
Yeah,
go your hardest. And
yeah,
I think the current state of play is a really good use of pop-ups. If it's fairly much immediate and
yeah.
it's to deliver a message, and operating hours, alternative ordering arrangements, call us before coming in, all that stuff is brilliant and would be really appreciated.
I actually also add an update the bad dad joke every day as well, just to try to add a little bit of humor. They're pretty bad jokes,
Can
and
I just tell you something? I was on one of your sites last night, and I don't know if I should be admitting to this.
yeah.
It might give my age away. I actually really appreciated the dad joke because
Okay.
in this mood of doom and gloom, it was great to see the message, and then I thought, "That's actually very smart." So well done.
Thank you very much. It wasn't as
Mm.
good as my bidet post that went out when the toilet paper all started disappearing off the shelves, but
Yeah.
I look, I definitely think social media and your website is a way to show your personality and be a little bit authentic.
Mm.
And you just, people are feeling very, very vulnerable right about now, and I'm just trying to be a little bit more fun about it. And
Mm.
going,
The the other thing I'd say with pop-ups is, particularly with social media, is I'm probably more of a fan of bots rather than just the stock.
oh, the, Yeah, the old chatbot, really?
Yeah. I think so, because if you mentioned that you talked about your perfect customer last
Yep,
week.
yep,
Well, if you know who that is, then you know why they're coming to see you. So
yep,
you can almost help them down the path of understanding for yourself, but also for them where they're headed,
yep.
before they've even had to call you. And sometimes, if you really know your business inside and out, then you can really utilize them for the good.
But don't you find them, I find them a bit impersonal, like just that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're a good writer, Lynn, so it depends how you write. You can say, "Hey, welcome. Before we get started, how about a dad joke?" And you're off and running. I bet no one
Yeah,
else is
I
doing
look,
that.
it's now making me think I've got to go back and fix my chat bot. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a chat about chatbots. So what's
Mm.
some of the things that people need to have or think about when setting up a chatbot? Because they're not the easiest thing to set up.
They're not, but they are becoming easier because people realize that, again, I go back to the sort of initial response to websites. Once upon a time, you needed to be a coder,
Yeah.
and chatbots, it wasn't too dissimilar. But you can now find some drag and drop online chatbot builders, and even Facebook, I guess, is the best known for it. But even through Facebook, it's becoming easier to do that because they know who their customers are better. So
Yeah.
as they get to know you and I better, they can then deliver the service better that we need and want.
Okay. All right, but you're still not going to tell us like. Okay, so one of the
Well,
things I find difficult, like, is like, okay, so you start a message with somebody with a chatbot, right? You go,
yeah,
"Hi, how you going?" And then this automatic message comes up, and then the next day they get in contact with you, and the same automatic message comes up. That drives me insane. Like,
okay.
how do you get around this when this can be quite like a lag even on those things when people getting in contact.
Sure. So you can set them however you want, and
Yeah,
you can set them to not pop up for repeat customers. So, you can set it up so that, let's say, for example, it only popped up every fifth time if somebody was a repeat customer.
yeah,
The other thing you can do, which I saw this years ago and I still think it's genius, this is sort of before chatbots were really mainstream. A lot of guys, particularly in the US, they use them specifically for growing their list of clients.
yeah,
And one of the things they do is someone would come to their website and they'd say hi, and give your chatbot a name. So, "Hi, this is Lynn. Thanks for dropping by. You know, um, Tapware Perth. We're the best tapware retail store in Perth. Um, just in case we get disconnected, could I get your name and email address,
yeah,
please?"
address, yeah, yeah,
Bingo. And
yeah,
so they're now thinking, is this a human? Is this not a human? But this is great. You could ask for a phone number in that same sequence as well.
yeah,
And then again, if you know your business, for example, I've been in the entertainment industry for a long time. So I know if someone's come into one of my entertainment sites, I know they're either after a DJ, a jukebox, a karaoke machine, or to hire some lighting or equipment. So I can create that conversation knowing it's only going to be one of four answers. If
yeah.
it's a renovations company, well, it's either going to be a bathroom, a kitchen, a second story, or something else. So again, you're not going to know the specific product, but you can whittle down the options for them.
Okay. All right, so I'm now going to have to go back and start playing with chatbots more, aren't I? Which is just going to frustrate me, but
You
that's okay.
probably should.
All right, so now I'm going to ask just another sort of few more questions about the basics and setting up your website.
Mm.
What the heck is this SSL certificate, and how important is it?
Yeah, really good question. So an SSL certificate is essentially a security certificate for your website. When you go to type in a web address into your browser, you will notice these days that those that have an SSL certificate, they have a little padlock just to the left of the domain name, and if they don't, they'll either have an unlocked padlock, it'll either say not secure, or worse still, they won't even get that far, and Google will actually put up a warning to stop people going to that site. So effectively what it is a tick of approval that that site has got the security settings that it requires to not be stealing your information. Worse still, if you were going to make a payment through that site, you simply wouldn't do one now that doesn't have an SSL certificate, because if it does have one, it means that you can be rest assured that no third party is getting your information.
How do you get an SSL certificate?
Again, really good question. So if you're using a page builder like Wix or Weebly or Duda or Squarespace, generally they will provide that for you. Some provide it free of charge and some will charge you for it. It depends on the type of website you have, on the type of certificate that you need. So if it's just a brochure style site, pretty basic, 3 to 5 pages, you got nothing out of the ordinary on that site, then most times you'll be able to get away with a free one. Depending on the hosting that you're using. If it's through one of the page builders that I mentioned earlier, then usually if you're on one of the paid hosting plans, you'll get an SSL included with that plan. If it's WordPress, then there's a lot of third-party plugins that you can get. And there's also a couple of other platforms that will provide an SSL certificate for you if you use some of their security measures.
What does SSL stand for?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me. That's like secure socket something or other.
Okay, I just trying to say SSL 3 times is actually quite difficult. Okay,
it is.
Right. So, are there any plugins?
Secure sockets layer.
Okay, thank you. What would we do without Google?
Exactly.
Are there any plugins that your website should have? So obviously we've discussed there are plugins that you can help make sure the speed of your website's up to scratch. There are certain plugins that you can use to help with content writing, SEO type things. So Yoast is one that's used a lot in on WordPress. Obviously there's a chatbot plugin that you could look at doing, or an instant messenger type plugin that you could look at doing. Is there anything else that people should try to have on their website that's going to help?
It really depends on what the site is doing. So if it's a video intensive site, then you'll be wanting to use a plugin or multiple plugins that will help you deliver that video to anybody going to your site, and will help to deliver it using the least amount of data and memory, if you want to call it that, to keep it as minimal as possible. If we're talking specifically WordPress, then usually some sort of a page builder, which will then help you to build the site and do the creative side of things. There's free ones available again with the page builders and paid versions. But it's a slightly difficult question to answer, only because every site would have its own minimum requirements. But look, obviously ones for SEO, ones to minimize the size of your images, minimize the data being used by video. These are pretty common. The other one's probably contact form. And the other one, which basically comes as standard, but you just have to activate it, is to stop hackers from trying to get into your site. So some sort of security plugin that raises the level from the standard WordPress level. Okay.
Yep, that makes sense. Now, let's go back to our original question here, right? So, the shit's hit the fan. Everybody's trying to get online as quickly as possible to try to keep afloat. If you could give these people 3 pieces of advice, right? So I was running a little retail. I had my little tapware store that was quite happily running, retail. Didn't need to be online that much in the past. I'm now suddenly crap, I need to get online.
Mm.
What's 3 pieces of advice that you would give somebody in that scenario right now?
Well, the first would be obviously to get online as quickly as possible. But the addendum to that would be just get online. Perfect and getting online often are at odds with each other. And I find this so much with particularly small business owners. They want everything to be 1000% perfect before they're happy to put their website up. But
Yeah,
meanwhile, they're missing customers and they're missing the opportunity to be even found online. So
yes,
I'm not saying put up a site that looks terrible, but
yeah,
you know, there's functional and there's pretty,
yeah,
and pretty can come later.
yeah,
So I wouldn't rush to go and buy the biggest and the best. So I've mentioned along the way that there's lots of free services out there that it interests me that in this day and age we still will see businesses that use a Gmail or Hotmail address for their email,
yeah,
but they've actually got a domain name and they've got a website.
yeah.
Or they've got a domain name, but they don't have a website. So there was a plan to do it at some point. Why didn't they do it? And the fact that they're prepared to use a Gmail or Hotmail account tells me, well, they're happy just to get it happening. And that's
Yeah.
so important right now. Business, people don't want to lose one sale. So get something online as quickly as you can. You don't have to spend the earth to do it. And this will be at odds a little bit with my first statement, but do some research.
Yeah.
Do some research and get yourself comfortable with whatever it is that you're going to use before you pull the trigger and say, right, I'm putting a website up today.
I mean,
Because
I'm in shock, and it's actually starting to irritate me to a point where, I mean, I'm on a lot of these sorts of, entrepreneurial women groups on Facebook and, all those sorts of things, right? Just seeing what other people are doing.
mm,
And, in the last 4 weeks, there just seems to be this massive increase of people that are just going, I need a social media manager. I need a website builder. I need an SEO
mm,
specialist. I need these things. And a couple of the people I've actually gone back to, and I've actually sent them a private message and gone, just wanting to know exactly what you're trying to do here, because before you go down the path of hiring an SEO specialist. And there was one girl that I spoke to, she's had this virtual assistant business that was sort of a side little thing that she didn't really do a lot of.
mm,
But she's lost her main job. Her husband's now telling her, get on and get an SEO specialist. I'm messaging her and she's saying, oh, yeah, my husband's telling me I need to get an SEO person. But, we hired an SEO person before and I ended up having to take them to court because they just signed a contract, didn't do anything. They didn't actually make any leads. And I was like,
mm,
look, send me your website. Let me take a look. And then I also looked at her social media and I also looked at her LinkedIn profile. She had 51 contacts in LinkedIn. So I was like, well, and it
mm,
took me 3 platforms before I actually found a photo of her,
mm,
and the website didn't actually say anything. It didn't tell me what problem she was trying to solve really and why it was so important in today's age right now. Like, it's obvious that the website content hadn't been updated considering this whole COVID-19 thing, and showing
mm,
people, look, you've lost all your staff. Here's a really quick way to get some admin stuff done that you just don't have time to do because you've had to let everybody go. But,
mm.
any of those sorts of messages getting out there. And I'm like, but why are you going down the path of hiring an SEO person? Like, take a breath, stop for a second, take a look at the bigger picture of what you're trying to do before you start spending a lot of money in areas that you just don't need.
Yeah, look, I come across this regularly, and I guess I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for people like that. But at the same time, it can be quite frustrating because all of the information is readily available at no charge
Yeah,
if you just do a little bit of research. Now, I fully get that some of my clients, they don't have the time, but they do have the money. So they're
yeah,
happy to pay someone, obviously as long as they get results. But the information is there for anyone who wants to go and find it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. It can be frustrating because sometimes people in these situations tend to jump at shadows, and SEO is not one of those things that you can switch on and off like a tap.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot, and I'm in a lot of digital marketing forums similar to what you've described with the entrepreneurial women. And it's interesting. You see comments all the time, and um, often you think to yourself, well, that's because you don't understand the industry that you're delving into if you're
Yeah.
making comments such as that. Um, but yeah, it's just a little bit of time. I'm not saying spend weeks or months, but
Yeah.
just spend a little bit of time figuring out what it is you need, and then once you've made the decision, then you can go for it.
I mean, and there's so much information on YouTube where people have actually made complete videos from beginning to end on how to create a Wix website or a Weebly website. And, it's a couple of hours of your day to watch how they've actually done it. And you can step-by-step instructions.
There was one that I saw not that long ago. He's an American guy. I, I like his style and I like his presentation style. Now, I've seen a few of these build a website, and when you look at the video, it's always 2.5 or 3 hours. And
Yeah.
as entertaining as it would be, I just don't have the time to sit there and watch it. But this guy had built a fully fledged WordPress site in under 40 minutes. And I was like, okay, I can watch that. And sure enough, it was easy to follow if you'd never built a website before, and you could figure out. In fact, I don't think you even needed to figure out the domain and the hosting side. He showed you how to do that,
Wow.
and literally, he built a site. Now, was it the world's best site? No, but it was a website, and if that person had a meeting that afternoon and they needed to have a website to go to the meeting, they would have had a website.
I'm actually now slightly embarrassed that that's actually shorter than our actual interview right now.
Yeah.
I like to think we actually gave a little bit more information, but, we'll go and try and find that video because that actually sounds quite good.
Look, I didn't say it was a website that, a fully fledged business could operate. But if you needed to have a website online and you knew nothing at 9 a.m. today, you could definitely have one up by lunchtime just following his videos.
Yeah.
But there's heaps of people like that. And, there's so many different page builders available now for WordPress, for example. Like you said before, you can put in how to build a how to build a website with Squarespace, and there'll
Yeah.
be a video for it. How to build a website with WordPress using Elementor, and there'll be a video for that. There'll be 50 videos for it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of once you've done your research and picked what you want to use, then you can go and look at some videos on how to do it.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Peter, this has been a great chat. I've learnt a lot. I've actually kept some notes for myself to make sure I go back and do for some of my clients.
Sorry about the chatbots, Lynn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. I'll be calling you later going, how the hell do I do this?
Yeah, well, look, it's forever evolving technology, but that they will help you. They really will.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, there was a lot of information that Peter and I did discuss, and we will be having this as a podcast to listen to in the next couple of days. This will be on the Midday Marketing Facebook page, and I will also add Peter's direct contact details to it. So, should you want to speak to Peter directly about your website, please feel free. And I also just wanted to remind people that if you do have a question about your marketing or your website and things like that, reach out to people like Peter and myself, because given the current climate, we don't mind sitting down for half an hour and talking to somebody about their website or helping them figure something out or just giving them a bit of advice on how to get started. Because, we just do want to actually help people. So don't be shy about reaching out before you start signing up people for an SEO campaign.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Lynn, just one point on that. Gone are the days when you really need to sign up to any digital marketing business, however they're helping you, anything more than month to month.
Yeah.
It actually it creates alarm bells for me when I hear of people who've just signed a 2, 3, 4 year contract, because you just don't need more than month to month. If everybody's doing what they should be, it's going to end up going 2, 3, 4 years anyway.
Yeah, well,
So
I mean, one of the I mean, Gareth that I spoke to last week, he charges like a lawyer, and my brother
mm.
would be very happy to hear that. He charges in increments, and it's it's $100 an hour, and so I know every time I pick up the phone and speak to Gareth, this is what it's going to cost me,
Yep.
and we work out how much it's going to. We decide what we're going to do from an SEO perspective, and a lot of things that okay, admittedly, I'm fortunate enough that I can actually write some of the copy myself, but we've gone, okay, well, I'll write it. We'll sort it. He gives me direction on what I need to do. I pay for that direction. I then go ahead and do it. And we just touch base once a week and go, okay, yep, look, Google traffic's doing the right thing. We're okay. Or crap, it's not doing the right thing. What's gone wrong? You don't have to sign a contract, people. So just really be careful about whether it's building a website, SEO, Google AdWords, Facebook adverts, just you don't have to sign for 3 months, 6 months.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
All right, Peter, look, thank you so much for your time. And I'm probably going to have to get you back after COVID-19 so we can actually talk about stuff that's, a little bit more warm and fuzzy and a bit more marketing of, that's not online digital marketing, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good to me, Lynn.
All right. Thanks a lot for your time, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
See you, Lynn.